All right, so let's start. Today we cover six current affairs, sharp, relevant, and exam ready. Let's go. US CBD on Indian solar panels. The United States has imposed countervailing duties ranging from 20 to 35% on solar panels importing from India, alleging that Indian government subsidies under the PLI scheme and state level incentives constitute unfair trade practices. The CBD is a tariff imposed to offset subsidies given by exporting countries' government. The Indian solar manufacturers ramped up the capacity, expecting US market access. The US accounts for 30% of India's solar panel exports, worth $3 billion annually. Now, India will challenge this at WTO, arguing that CBD violates most favored nation principle and that US subsidies to its own solar industry are larger than India's. Remember that countervailing duty is import tariffs offsetting foreign government subsidies to domestic producers. Photovoltaic modules. Solar panels are basically photovoltaic modules converting sunlight to electricity, key renewable energy technology. PLI scheme is production linked incentive providing financial support to boost domestic manufacturing. Trade protectionism is policies restricting imports to protect domestic industries from foreign competition. WTO rules are multilateral trade agreements regulating subsidies, tariffs, and trade disputes. And then anti subsidy measures are trade remedies countering perceived unfair advantages from government support. Uh, then the next one is basically PM Modi's Knesset Address. So Prime Minister Modi addressed Israel's parliament, the Knesset, becoming the first Indian Prime Minister to do so. His speech emphasized shared values of democracy, common threats from terrorism, and expanding cooperation in defense, technology, agriculture, and water management. Now, this is a diplomatic milestone because India maintained distance from Israel until 1992 due to Arab world sensitivities and domestic Muslim population considerations. The Knesset Address indicates parliamentary level engagement beyond executive level relations. Modi's speech highlighted terrorism as common enemy. Israel faces Hamas and Hezbollah, India faces Pakistan based groups. Israel's normalization with UAE and Bahrain through Abraham Accords created new geopolitical configuration. India's I2U2 grouping with Israel, UAE, and US emerged from this. Knesset address again is speech to Israel's parliament. India-Israel relations, bilateral strategic partnership since 1992. Strategic partnership, comprehensive cooperation across defense, economic, and technological domains. Abraham Accords, 2020 agreements normalizing Israel-Arab relations, and parliamentary diplomacy, international relations conducted through legislative body interactions. West Asia policy, India's approach to Middle East balancing multiple relationships. The next topic is CBSE languages policy enforced. The CBSE has mandated strict implementation of the three language formula from the 2026-2027 to academic year. Uh, from the 2026-27 academic year, students must study Hindi and English plus one additional language, preferably a classical or regional Indian language. Now, the new educational policy 2020 emphasizes mother tongue or local language as medium of instruction until at least grade 5. Arguing research shows children learn better in languages they speak at home. The policy aims to preserve linguistic diversity while ensuring students have access to English for higher education and employment. The Kothari Commission in 1964 first proposed three language formula, regional language Hindi and English. Implementation has been uneven. Hindi states teach Hindi as both regional and national language, while non-Hindi states view Hindi requirement as cultural imperialism. Now, three language formula again is educational policy mandating study of three languages for linguistic balance. And CBSE is the Central Board of Secondary Education governing national curriculum and examinations. NEP 2020 is a national education policy reforming Indian education system with multilingual emphasis. And mother tongue education is teaching children in their home language for better learning outcomes. Linguistic diversity is variety of languages and dialects across India requiring policy accommodation. Kothari Commission is a 1964 commission recommending three language formula for national integration. Then we have the SC on the NCRT corruption remark. The Supreme Court made strong remarks about alleged corruption in NCRT's textbook printing contracts during a PIL hearing. Now, this matters because the court's remarks came during the PIL proceedings, not based on completed investigation. Critics argue courts should not make corruption allegations without evidence. This is a trial by media. NCRT is an autonomous body under the Education Ministry responsible for curriculum development and textbook publication. The corruption allegations involving printing contracts worth 500 crores where certain publishers allegedly received preferential treatment. Now, the Constitution mandates separation between judiciary, legislature, and executive. Courts interpret laws and ensure constitutional compliance, but should not administer, right? So the Supreme Court, which is the apex court with constitutional authority under Article 32 for fundamental rights enforcement. NCRT again is the National Council for Educational Research and Training, developing national curriculum. Judicial overreach is courts exceeding constitutional mandate and entering legislative or executive domain. Institutional autonomy is independence of statutory bodies from undue political or judicial interference. Separation of powers is constitutional principle dividing government into independent legislative, executive, and judicial branches. And contempt of court is disobedience or disrespect of court orders and authority. And the next one is the CAFE 3 auto emission norms. The government has notified CAFE 3 standards, corporate average fuel economy phase 3, mandating that auto manufacturers achieve fleet average fuel efficiency of 18.9 kilometers per liter for petrol cars by 2028. Now, the CAFE works by averaging fuel efficiency across all vehicles a manufacturer sells. Right? Companies producing large inefficient SOBs must balance them with small efficient cars to meet fleet average. Manufacturers like Maruti, Hyundai, Tata Motors have until 2028 to meet norms through engine technology improvements, weight reduction, aerodynamic designs, and increasing hybrid and electric vehicle share. Now, CAFE 3 works alongside Bharat stage emission norms. BS6 already mandates low particulate and NOx emissions similar to Euro 6. CAFE 3 adds CO2 emissions limits through fuel economy standards. Now, CAFE standards basically are that fuel economy regulations mandating minimum fleet average efficiency for automakers. Fuel efficiency is distance traveled per unit of fuel. Higher efficiency means lower emissions and cost. BS6 is Bharat Stage 6 emission standards, limiting pollutants from vehicle exhaust. Emission norms are regulations limiting pollutants released by vehicles and industries. Then automotive regulations are government rules governing vehicle safety, emissions, and fuel economy. Green mobility is sustainable transportation reducing environmental impact through efficiency and electrification. Then the next one is carbon capture utilization tech launch. So India has commissioned its first large-scale carbon capture and utilization facility at a steel plant in Odisha. The plant captures 1 million tons of CO2 annually from blast furnace emissions and converts it into methanol and industrial chemicals. Now, steel and cement plants generate CO2 as a byproduct of chemical processes, not just fuel emissions. So, not just fuel combustion. Sorry. If you use if you use renewable electricity, the chemistry of converting iron ore to steel or limestone to cement releases CO2. Now, carbon capture technologies extract CO2 from exhaust gases before atmospheric release. So, the captured CO2 is compressed and either stored underground or utilized in products. So, India focuses on utilization rather than storage since geological storage sites are limited. Now, these sectors account for about 30% of India's industrial emissions but have limited zero emission alternatives. The, capture, the captured CO2 is chemically converted to methanol, which is used in plastics, manufacturing, fuel additives, and as maritime fuel. Some facilities convert CO2 to construction materials like concrete aggregates. Carbon capture again, technology extracting CO2 from industrial emissions, preventing atmospheric release. Carbon capture and utilization converting CO2 into chemicals, fuels, or materials is CCO technology. Decarbonization is reducing or eliminating carbon dioxide emissions from economic activities. Industrial emissions is greenhouse gases released from manufacturing, power generation, and industrial processes. Hard to abate sectors. Industry is difficult to decarbonize using current renewable energy technologies. Net zero 2070. India's commitment to achieving carbon neutrality by 2070. That's it for today's session. Stay consistent, stay sharp. See you tomorrow. Thank you.